What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Discraft's 2022 Big Rip Classic presented by Ledgestone. This is the back nine of round one. If you didn't join us for the front nine, you did miss some good golf. Again, I'm Kyle Simmons, joined by JC. There's some super windy conditions, and let's see how these guys fare out on this downhill, very windy levee hole.
Yeah, we have an island hole here to start the back nine. If you didn't watch the front coverage, we have very windy conditions. Thunder, unfortunately, missing the island. I think he was expecting the disc to just push down with that crosswind coming off of the dam. Jonathan lining up, looking to make the correction.
And like we said, at the top of this dam, you're the most exposed to the wind. That was a good run right there from Jonathan. But as you get under the dam, I would imagine that's not nearly as windy, and that's probably what happened to Thunder's shot. He was expecting the slam, and the wind deceived him at the bottom of the hill.
Cameron throwing it lower, trying to not get in the wind, and throws it too low, and unfortunately never comes up the island.
If you do not make the island, there's a drop zone putt at the very top of this hill.
Yeah, not a makeable putt for most of these guys, most of anybody really. It's more of a layup play. Chad barely keeps staying in the island. As you can see here, Thunder going from the drop zone.
Significantly downhill. Similar to the last hole. I mean, you don't have to put as much force on it because it's downhill,
but not putting too much or not putting enough on it can have it tailor off to the left, and which Cameron fortunate enough to stay within 20 feet, probably even closer than that. Chad, I believe, was close enough to the line to get relief from the OB. Just barely splashes out right. Just a little hook on that, and that probably would have went in. Chad, the hot round or the hot nine from our front nine with 3 down. Jonathan had probably one bad hole, but able to connect to that to get back to even starting this back nine. And Thunder and Cameron playing pretty smooth. Thunder at 1 down, Cameron at 2 up, which that's about to change here, but Cameron tapping in for his bogey puts him at 3 up. Thunder tapping in will put him at even.
Yep, I believe Jonathan took a 7 on hole 6, and ever since then he's been running at a pretty good clip. He's been birdieing almost every hole.
Yeah, that was a rough hole for him for sure.
Looking at it before we started, hole 1 was like it was playing the easiest. That was before people got out here.
A little conversation, good sportsmanship between
1,
players.
16,
A lot of these guys are local to the southeast, so these few holes, we're not used to elevation, and so it can definitely play with us down here.
Yeah, hole 11 is a 640-foot par 4. It really is a 2-shot hole. Not a lot of people are going to get there in one. There is a large patch of OB between you and the basket. You can either do similar to what Jonathan does, which is kind of lay your first shot into the hillside, but it leaves a very tough second shot with bad footing. I would imagine you see a lot of people lay up short of the OB, which you can kind of see on the right side, and then throw across on their second.
Yeah, that is a good play. I found every time I've done that, I've messed up the hole and played a lot better just with the bad footing on the hillside. So Chad looking to do what I normally do and just put it out as far as he can without flipping it over and just taking what he's got from there. Thunder going through his full routine. Getting a good rip on that. Flipping up. Doesn't quite get to flat, but pushing down that hill nicely. Sometimes even with that, you'll actually get a roll down even though the grass is pretty tall, and you'll have some pretty good footing at the base. I was hoping we would see Cameron's distance shot here, but the wind might be too strong right now. It looks like he just played a layup play.
Is there a specific type of wind that he uses to throw that power shot? Is it, is it more favorable for a tailwind or a headwind, or what works best for it?
I would imagine a tailwind. I personally can't throw it. I don't have that kind of overhand power. Jonathan, with the bad footing, kind of yanks on it. Probably with the hillside as a back, caused him to fall over. But yeah, with Cameron's tomahawk, he could explain it best. But he takes a very light disc, so I would imagine a tailwind would probably be best conditions for that.
Footing not as much of an issue for Cameron because of that tomahawk. He should be putting for his birdie though. Not getting knocked down by the tree short of the basket.
Yeah, let's look for him to try to turn this round around a little bit. He's had some struggles on the putting green. Chad getting a little turned over, a little low, but has enough forward penetration to get up there under the tree and have a look for a birdie as well. Thunder showing you what you were talking about with the bad footing. Still able to throw the disc out over the OB, but not ideal for what he was looking for.
Yep, he got his mustache a little dirty there, but he was very fortunate to get across. I mean, he very easily could have landed short in that OB, and he would have been throwing down the hill from very far back.
But being down the hill, even though he has a pretty long look, he'll probably give this a run because the hill plays as a backstop, whereas Jonathan had to lay up his shot. Just a little low. Fortunate enough not to get the roll back down the hill.
Yeah, but it's worth noting they should be semi-protected from the wind on these putts as they're on the other side of the levee. But if there is any wind, Chad should have a little bit of a headwind on his putt.
And getting another roll away. Chad had one of those in the first round, or front nine. So getting a little aggravated with that, but he's played a good round so far. He'll probably bounce back from that, no problem.
Wow, what a great comeback putt. And that's, again, we talked about it earlier. He had the same thing happen earlier, and to come back and it happened again and then quickly make the comebacker, it's impressive. That was a great putt.
Cameron again. This one was actually a little more center. That could have stuck for him. But he'll tap in his par and move on to the next one.
And there's Jonathan and Thunder for their pars.
I'm honestly surprised to see, actually there were no birdies on that hole. I'm surprised to see that. We move on to hole 12, which is probably one of the more challenging par threes on this hole. You have downhill the whole way, very fast green. Players are going to try to flip up a mid or a fairway, push it straight, and then, oh!
Wow, doing a little bit of a concrete ride and almost went straight in.
I was about to say, missed the culvert down there and scoot up to the basket, but Jonathan trying to bank it off there in for the one. He probably pushed down into a very rough area, actually.
Yeah, behind the basket, there's a little bit of a ditch, and in front of the ditch is a wall of trees. You do not want to be past the basket.
You also don't want to be right on this hole. There's absolutely no way to get through those trees on the right. The miss is left for sure.
Yeah, then Chad looks like he was fortunate enough not to roll into the road, which is OB.
Yeah, that would just add insult to injury. Some players will actually opt for a flex forehand, which we might see Cameron play. That keeps you on that left side the whole way, and under with a little slippage, but it skips up. It should be a decent look.
And here's that forehand you were foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And that's something that Cameron's been doing a lot this round, actually. When he does bring out the forehand, it has been turning over and not wanting to fight out of it.
Wow.
And that was probably best case scenario. As you can hear Thunder in the background just saying, wow.
Really good run by Thunder. Unfortunately, just a bit high and skimming off the basket with a bad roll. He shouldn't be too far away, but let's see what his footing is like being tucked in the trees.
Yeah, this is a common theme of this course, is just you have to be confident on the putting green, because if not, you'll get some rollaways like that, and holy crap. Jonathan goes from almost acing to being 60 foot behind a wall of trees, and surprisingly able to get through there and have a look to save his par.
I can't believe his disc made it through that initially. I mean, it had some speed, but as you can see, that's just a straight up wall.
Yeah, most of the time it's pretty aggravating because you'll end up just right behind it, like if your disc has enough speed. But yeah, Thunder rolled actually a little further than we thought. Chad saving par from over there.
Yeah, waving to all his fans.
I think he was showing the route that he went. I think Jonathan was being courteous there and just asking if it was on him, or maybe even curious how he even got through there himself. But if he was asking, it's a good lesson for y'all back home. Just, good sportsmanship. Thunder tapping in the bogey.
Very unfortunate. I mean, he had a birdie look, but he had the best look at the basket after the tee shots, and card's the only bogey, I believe.
Yeah, he actually went away from his putting routine and lobbed it up. Should have been more confident, I guess. We move on to hole 13. It's a par 4, 566 feet. You'll play down this fairway on the left side of the rough, OB all down the right as well as the road. Plays to an island green. Players will pretty much attack this with either a hyzer over the OB right or a forehand over the road, and try to stick the green with a stable mid or putter. Do we get to see it? No, I guess he's not pulling that out today. It must be too windy for him. Really hoping we would.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a treat a little bit later in the round, but that was a pretty routine tee shot for him, landing in similar spots to the other card mates. I mean, the only real mistake you can make off the tee is never making your way back in bounds, obviously, or skipping into the OB, but it looks like this grass is pretty grabby right now. Not a lot of skips so far. All of our guys should have pretty open looks at the basket.
Yeah, Thunder landing a little shorter. I think he wanted to get more air on the disc, so he's first up on this upshot.
smashing a hyzer, and that's pretty good. That's all you can ask for. He's putting, he's safe on the green, and you are throwing over water on this second shot. You can't see it from here, but there's a little bit of a creek between you and the basket.
Yeah, that's Little Black Creek right there.
I forgot about that.
Jonathan able to get it on the island as well. Cameron almost getting another unfortunate roll, but stays in bounds. He'll have a long look.
Yeah, I'm holding my breath every time Cameron's tomahawk hits the ground because I'm never sure what it's gonna do.
Yeah, pushing it a little long, I guess. Not wanting to land in Little Black Creek, but he'll have a look for birdie as well. Man, that was a more confident putt we've seen from Cameron today, but
The same miss, right?
Stab with a stepper. Stabs it right in the middle of the chains. Look serious, walk away.
Looks like Jonathan and Thunder are gonna have pretty similar putts coming up for their birdies.
Yeah. Don't get big putted, that's all I gotta say.
That might have been I mean,
Just kidding.
he's not happy with himself, obviously. There shouldn't be too much wind. You can see the flags blowing up there, but we mentioned it before. Once you get on the other side of the levee or dam, there's not as much wind down here at the bottom of the bowl.
Yeah, you could even see with Thunder's wind check right there that the grass didn't move too much. Both guys getting big putted.
Similar landing spots, very similar putts. Both very unhappy.
Yeah, most of these guys are looking to probably catch the birdie on this. Cameron hitting the good comeback par there.
Yeah, I mean, at 566, it's not the longest hole. The OB is pretty scary, but these guys expect to, I mean, they throw it 350, 300 off the tee. You don't expect to cash a par most of the time.
That'll move us to hole 14. I believe this hole changed from in years past. It's instead of playing a big turnover, this plays dead straight. You kind of start getting the wind picking back up.
Do it.
You have OB behind the basket as well as the road, and it's one of the tougher par threes in the course as well.
I've gotten 2 tournament aces. One was for money.
Chad talking about all the basket scares he's had over the years. That was a pretty good run there. He should be putting inside the circle.
Jonathan one that deflects out a little bit, but gets in the circle. It looks like.
Yeah, I like that play because it seemed like he was turning away from the OB the whole time, never in a lot of danger. And this is another theme on this course when you're on the open holes. It's par threes. That there's OB on, left and right, but it's right there. You just gotta put the disc in bounds and in play and try and get yourself a birdie.
Yeah, Cameron throwing his shot a little low. He probably didn't. The tomahawk will finish out to the left, and he probably didn't want to play with that road, and unfortunately gets it a little too short. But Thunder putting a move on this one. Dead straight. Hits Jonathan's disc.
Oh, dude, this was that. Probably his.
Also, another thing to note, that's actually a little Black Creek right there. That hole that the water's in is above Cameron's head, and he's about 6'5". So fortunate enough not to have his disc fall in that, but it looks like he'll be taking a far.
Is that casual water if you do land in there?
Yes, it's just you lose your disc. Jonathan, despite Thunder moving his disc, able to cash in his birdie from about 25 feet. You guys are trying to figure out who's next.
Yeah, it looks like the wind is picking up much more by this basket.
You start getting further and further away from the dam, there's less of a blockade for you.
Confident stroke there from Thunder after missing a putt similar on the last hole.
Yeah, him and Jonathan both. That's a good way to turn it around.
Chad just seeming so thrilled to attempt this next putt into a headwind.
Especially being uphill, anything could happen. It just started to rise, but it stayed below the band, and he was able to cash that in. So Cameron looking to take a long par. And that moves us on to hole 15. This one plays uphill, probably plays closer to 390. You have OB right and OB deep now. They've added that in on this hole. So the wooded line behind the basket is actually out of bounds, and there's OB left now too. So Chad flirting with the OB, but I believe he stays in bounds. Really, a lot of players just want to crush a overstable disc out to the right over the road and play the skip.
Yeah, and Jonathan really trusting his disc, giving a lot of width, letting the wind drag it in, using the overstability, and absolutely parked the hole. That was a great shot from Jonathan.
Just how he dialed it up.
See if Thunder can follow suit here.
And the wind that on the previous holes that was so bad would actually play better for this hole, as long as you keep the disc on a hyzer, as Thunder does there. Come on.
Just a little short. I mean, this hole's, you can see it a little bit from the camera, but again, it's significantly uphill. There's a lot of elevation change on this course. At 370, it probably plays what, like 390, 395. Right. So it's a pretty good pump to get up there, and it's a tailwind.
Yeah, I was already having trouble with this hole before the OB was added. I don't know why they did that.
They did that just for you, Jesse.
Cameron putting it up there. He should have a putt. Chad not able to get around the only obstacle in his way. That'll leave him with about probably about a 15-footer, maybe 20.
Thunder really trying to get a good read on what this wind might do to his disc.
Yeah, you can see the flags behind him. They're ripping back there as well.
And that's a really good putt outside the circle, jumping it in, sneaking over the rim, running it in. That's he's loving it.
Must be the stash. I gotta grab me one of those. Oh yeah, Cameron's a lot closer than I thought.
See if he can correct on some of his putting woes.
This would be a good get. That's unfortunate. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, but he should have had a tailwind on that putt.
Yeah,
as you can see, the grass is zooming out of frame, probably dropping his disc into the cage, but.
Yeah, you can see the grass is zooming out of frame. Probably dropping his disc into the cage. But. Yeah, you can see the grass is zooming out of frame. Probably dropping his disc into the cage. But. Yeah, you can see the grass is zooming out of frame. Probably dropping his disc into the cage. But.
it's something that he's really trying to correct on these next 3 holes.
Chad keeping his pretty solid round going. Cleans up the par.
There's Jonathan for his birdie after a great tee shot.
Yeah, Jonathan's really turned it around on this back 9. Like I said, he had actually really just had one bad hole in the front, and but to get back under par, that's awesome. Hole 16 is probably the easiest hole in this course. It just a very simple hyzer. The only mistake you don't want to make is to not push it too far inside. Most players will probably grab an overstable mid. And that mistake could be more common here with this wind pushing it, closer towards that rough inside.
Yeah, but if you do go into the rough, because it's so thick and the hole moving left, it's very difficult to get up and down for your par, as the angle will be cut off. Terrible mistake from Thunder.
He was, I guess, worried about that inside rough and just held on to it a little too long.
Fortunate not to kick into the road and be OB very early. Chad scaring the basket again. Looks like he has a decent skip. Maybe he sat down and has an open look for his birdie. And Cameron dialing that up beautifully.
Yeah, he's really showing you how you can work a disc with the overhand. I'm not sure. Thunder sometimes throws a Discmania method upside down, and I think that was that shot. Typically it flies really well for him and finishes out left, but I don't think that one had enough air.
No, this is going to be a tough putt for his par. Outside the circle with a tailwind.
Yeah, Jonathan, fortunate enough, he was able to stay out of the rough and just easily pitch up for his par. Thunder almost catching another long one, but unfortunately he'll take a bogey here. Chad did push in a little bit. He's a short guy. He might be able to putt from a knee here.
Yeah, but it looks like there's a tiny window. What a crazy reaction. He hit the chains and then came over the basket. Interesting.
Just shows you how strong the wind's blowing right now. Even in this little pocket right here, it's blowing hard. That would have been a crazy make, though. He's probably disappointed, but off the tee, you can't see the basket, so you don't know where your disc ends up, and he probably thought he was parked. That moves us on to hole 17, a downhill left to right hole. You really just want to hit this gap and be moving slight right. Cameron, unfortunately, burns it into the ground. That should give him an easy par, but he's looking to cash on some birdies.
Yeah, with not a lot of opportunities left, he's, I'm sure he's not thrilled. Chad asking for just a lift and has a similar result as Cameron, just the opposite hand.
Yeah, with the backhand turnover, if you have that wind coming off the water, it's gonna hit the flight plate and push the disc down. So, and you also, as you can see, you have a low ceiling, so it's a very technical shot from there. Jonathan opting for the forehand instead.
And this looks to be on a good line.
Maybe a little right, but yeah, he should have a look.
hopefully that wind pushed it down at the end and prevented a big flare or from swinging too far.
Yeah, I like to take like a very overstable fairway and throw it on an anhyzer on the right side, and then by the time it finishes out, it's pretty much gone dead straight. Thunder opting for straight hyzer. I think he was thinking it was going in.
Camera with the step putt approach, letting the wind drag it in.
Pushed it a little long. Hopefully that's not too much of a challenge for him on this, since he's been having some putting woes. Chad might have been giving that a run, but maybe the wind just picked it up. And as you can see, as I was saying earlier, that hyzer play pushes you a little further right, but Thunder stabbing another putt in from outside the circle.
Yeah,
Putting game's has ramped up.
yeah, but it's got to be an advantage when you're putting in this much wind to have that spin putt. You can kind of drive it through, and Cameron, unfortunately, pulling it right again.
I've been there, man. You just have to brush it off. You got 2 other rounds to play, so come back strong the next day.
There we go. Cameron for his bogey. And finally we see Jonathan, whose disc did not push too far right. He's putting for his birdie. And he converts pretty easily. Showing off his cool disc tricks as he walks to the next hole. Hole 18, our finishing hole. It's a par 4, 600 feet. A lot of guys are going to go through this middle gap. You do not want to push too far. You'll see a lot of forehands to drag yourself away from the OB road and into the fairway as it bends right. They did cut down a lot of this, I guess, rough from last year. In the past, it has been much higher. The gap is a little bit bigger this year than in years past.
You see our first 2 guys with the green flag. After throwing that shot, it lands you or brings you down. The fairway tapers down and gets a little narrower at the basket. See Chad here waiting on the traffic. Opting for the backhand play instead.
A much scarier shot, but he looks to have executed it absolutely perfectly with the late turn, and then with the green flag, he sat somewhere in the middle, I would imagine.
And this is actually a really, really strong play if you've got it. Just throwing a tomahawk over these trees to the right.
What?
The gallery is in awe. That looks to be the distance shot you were referring to earlier. It kind of panned out for a long time, caught the edge and sat in bounds. That was a really good shot.
Get in the basket. Let's go, Thunder.
Beautiful shot from Thunder with the forehand, skipping it off the road, looking to finish his round right.
Yeah, the forehand is, for me, is the better play on this upshot. You don't have any trees to contend with. Chad not playing any forehands this round at all, it looks like, and showing that you can easily throw a backhand on this upshot as well.
Jonathan doesn't like it out of his hand. It's a little sawed off. Let's see if it sits. I can't tell, but he may have found his way OB.
I saw some grass move, but maybe it was strong enough to keep him in. Cameron making the correction from Jonathan's shot and throwing it out wide enough.
Yeah, he looked to be significantly closer than the rest of our card.
Yeah, so I guess Jonathan did find the OB.
Yeah, but that's a pretty good putt to end your round with a par instead of a bogey.
The rest of these guys are looking to cash in easy birdies. Thunder flirting with the change a little bit, a little high, but there are no pictures on the scorecard, just videos.
And Chad with a very good round, waving to his fans again. And Cameron, not the best round. He left a lot of strokes out there on the putting green, but he looks to come back strong in the next round. And that'll do it, guys.
God, that's so good.
Our card ended up Chad at -6, Jonathan at -3, Thunder at -2, and Cameron at +1, I believe. We will be following Chase card on round 2 with Kenny Brister, Logan Weiss, Jonathan Fletcher, and Josh Hollingsworth. Again, I'm Kyle Simmons. I was joined by JC Rowe. Thank you for watching the 2022 at Discraft Big Rip Classic presented by Ledgestone.